Good morning, everybody. How are you today? I am doing well and wondering who's going to join me this morning. I have a few people who said they would be here, and if they're not, that's okay too. I am starting my day with you, and hopefully you are here with a cup of coffee. I am entitling my Friday mornings Have a Cup of Joe, and I do have mine here. I don't know if you can see it correctly, but it's Be Positive today. So one of my clients and close friends actually bought me that mug, and I love it. And it is something that reminds me of her every time that I use it, but also I love the positivity of it. So I had mentioned that I would be here live every single Friday, and the reason for that is twofold. I love it. I love to be able to connect with people and stay connected, feel connected. And B, I'm missing it because typically before, usually on Friday mornings, I would reserve the early morning hour to connect with someone face to face, physically, somewhere, maybe a coffee shop at somebody's house or whatever, just to catch up, just to pop in, just to say hi, just to, keep that connection. And, what we've all been dealing with the last 2 years, I haven't been able to do that. And so I want to fill that void because I miss everybody. And I love having those personal connections and opportunities to do so. So I thought, why not? Why not use the technology we have at hand and, be able to still connect? It's different. And I can't wait until we can pick up. Almost feels like we'll be picking up where we left off and see people again in person and, do these kinds of things in the way that we had done them before, in the way that I prefer them. But for the meantime, I am so blessed and grateful to meet you here and have this opportunity to connect, which is actually something I have gone ahead and selected topics for each Friday so that there's something to talk about. And I think that though there are usually going to be a real estate theme, I'm pretty sure possibly you can relate. I'm pretty sure possibly you can learn something maybe. Perhaps it will reveal a way that I can maybe help you. Who knows? So these are conversations I maybe would have with people. Today's conversation might be a little deep though. Today's conversation might be something that, I know it is. It's something that's a little difficult for me. And that's just because it's something that a lot of people I don't think know. That happened and affected me during the very beginning of my real estate career. So for that fact, because it's something I don't think most people know, it's a little nerve-wracking, right? It's not easy to share things, but I think it's really important to share the things that happen that are challenging and difficult and complicated, as well as the good things, right? On social media especially it typically can be only what you see from everybody is positive, but that's not real in everyday life. And so who are we kidding? If you're going to share the good things, I think you should share the bad things too. And sometimes you never know where there is someone who could seriously help you out through the process and just make each day better. That's what this is about. Connecting with you, reconnecting with you, and staying connected with you. On a weekly basis, I'll be here live. So today's topic is how not being able to walk kickstarted my real estate career. Again, I don't know how many people know this, but this is actually something that happened to me. So when I first started in real estate, I didn't realize that I owned my own business now, right? And you have to get that off the ground. But B, I still had a full-time job, and that's usually the path that people tell you to take when you're starting your own business or your first business. If you have a full-time job in the corporate world or wherever, keep it, because you're not going to start to make income immediately, right? You have to work at that part. And so I did. I had a full-time job. I had 2 young children in school, and I got my real estate license. If you watch last week's live, you'll hear all about that. And now was the time that I had to work at the business. Clients don't just fall in your lap. It's usually cautioned that you You start connecting with people. You let people know that you're in real estate. You let people know that, this is the new industry that you're in. And so I was immersing myself in everything I could real estate. I was learning everything that I could. I was shadowing people. It was slow going. It was really slow going, but it was going. Okay. And I did successfully onboard some clients and, had a couple of deals and things like that. And so I loved the aspect of owning my own business. I loved working with people on their journey. It's the largest transaction normally to buy or sell property. And so I was honored to be a part of that journey with them. And again, it was a slow going process, but it was a process. I was working hard at it to, get my business up off the ground. And it was, I would say, maybe about 2 years after I got my license, I was still in my full-time position and doing real estate on the side, and it was working out really, really well. And then it was January, much like now, early January, snowy, icy, cold, yucky weather. And I was going back and forth to my full-time job. And one day, while I was 9 months pregnant, I had a little bit of pain while I was walking in my leg and went home. And within hours, I had excruciating pain in my leg and I couldn't walk and I couldn't stand. And I did not know what was going on. And so, of course, you go through all of the motions, but in reality, looking back at it, everything changed in that instant for me. The path I was on, the path I was going on, I was happy with, everything was great, everything was good. Sudden screeching halt. Since I was 9 months pregnant, I was under medical care. And so, of course, that's, the doctors that you go to try and figure out what is going on with you. And nobody seemed to know. So from my full-time job, now I can't walk. Overnight, I went on disability. The doctors decided that it would be best, in my opinion, to, and I agreed with them, to go ahead and plan the delivery of our baby and have it fully assisted. And so, this delivery was with oodles upon oodles of doctors to make sure that all the precautions were taken because they didn't know what was going on. They knew that I had extreme pain. They knew that I couldn't walk. They knew that they knew or they didn't know, but they assumed it was pregnancy related. So they figured that let's go ahead and do this, and then maybe we'll see a big shift, right, in the secondary, whatever's going on. And so we did that, and nothing changed. And actually, it really affected everything. Now I have a baby and I still can't walk. I still have excruciating pain. It almost felt like my leg was like disconnected. Okay, I couldn't move it on my own. Literally, it hurt if I laid, it hurt if I sat, it hurt if I stood. It hurt all the time. So talk about, I'm heavily medicated. I'm trying to get through daily life. I have a newborn. And the kicker though was nobody knew what was wrong. And I think that was the hardest part because those are the people you rely on. You rely on the doctors, you rely on the medical professionals to help you. And they were helping, they were trying, they were really, really trying. They just did not know. And so they assumed that after, having the baby and, it was always adding more time. Let's give it a little bit more time. Let's try this therapy. Let's try that therapy. And nothing was helping. And so, like I said, I'm on disability from my full-time job. The next 9 months after I delivered my baby, I spent in excruciating pain, heavily medicated, unable to stand, walk, sit, lay, especially for long periods of time, but even short periods of time were bad. It was extremely, extremely complicated. 9 months go by and I see something on television of all places, but I was watching a lot of television those days, from a doctor who was actually being showcased on a local news channel. and he was talking about something that he treats in women, usually happens in pregnant women. It's it's not a widely known condition that comes up, but he was an orthopedic surgeon, and he was treating women in pregnancy that had what you call a labral tear. And so in this case is the labral in your hip. And I laid there and was like, oh my God, could that be it? And they didn't go into details, and they didn't, because everybody's case is different. It was just that little glimmer of, oh my God, is he talking to me? Could this possibly be what I'm experiencing? And I wrote down the doctor's name, the surgeon's name, and all of the information, and I called. I've never done something like that. I typically wouldn't do anything like that. I'm not going to just, I was desperate. And so I called and made an appointment, and through appointments with him and medical tests to prove, they were not fun medical tests, but I don't know if anybody has had, you have a labral, I think, in your shoulders as well. If anybody has had like a labral tear in your shoulder, the arthrogram that they have to do to, check that out and see like the size of the tear and things like that, same for the hip. It's extremely painful. It's almost, I felt like torturous, but it's the only way that they could get to the area. And I believe they inject it with a dye so that they could do a guided, kind of like an MRI, so that they can see, so that when they go to do the surgery, they can see to do the repair. So great news, right? I've got a diagnosis, and I feel so super hopeful. I'm like, I hate this whole process. I don't want this to be, I want it to go away, but I have this light at the end of the tunnel, this light that I can grasp. I totally grasped onto. I really, really did. And he says to me, there's a surgery I can do. I can do this surgery, and I can try and help you. And I, of course, was all on board after going through the whole entire process. And I go to the front desk, and now's the time we're going to make our appointment for surgery. And they tell me his surgical schedule is 5 months out. And I had to hold back tears. My shock, I'm sure, was on my face because she explained, how busy he is. And I mean, we are talking a surgeon who was showcased on TV, and he was very, I don't want to say famous, but he has treated many, many, many famous people, mostly Chicago athletes, because another way you get this labral tear, especially to the hip, is from impact. Okay, and so you're talking football players, big time athletes who are getting tackled, who are getting sidelined, who are, playing sports extremely hard, and they have this injury. Okay, and so what happens with women who are pregnant, because of the hormones and everything, it really, really loosens your ligaments, and they think that that's tied with how women are coming down with this injury while pregnant, because everything's just way too loose in there, and then ends up, this is what can happen. Now, it doesn't happen to everybody, of course, obviously, but that's what happened to me. And so what am I going to do? I can't make him change his schedule. 5 months out, I have to book surgery. I have to live another 5 months this way. While waiting for my surgery date, my full-time job had me investigated for fraud. One day, an investigator comes to my door, and my husband answered, and we let him in. He explains to us who he is. He explained to us who he's been hired by. He had, all of this information, and he said he would like to talk to me. And so we let him in, and he told me that he was hired by my company to investigate me for disability, medical, leave fraud. Okay. And he said that he's been watching me for months. He has surveillance videos that he will also hand over to me because it's my right to have them. He would be handing over a copy of his report. And I am baffled. I am horrified. I am so many emotions at that time. And he says to me, because he could tell I was upset, he says, "Ma'am, just so you know, my report concludes that you're telling the truth." And I was like devastated. It felt personal, so personal. And I had to work really hard at removing that personal blow, because this is a company, a gigantic company, okay? When someone's out on, disability for a very long time, and there were other, things, this was the path that they chose to take. And of course, I knew I wasn't lying. I knew that this is the path that I was on. I knew that this gentleman at the door told me that he was going to tell them that he said, "I have footage of you trying to leave your house for medical appointments. This is the only place you've gone. And you never carry your baby. You use crutches going downstairs. I could see the pain on your face in the videos. Getting in and out of the car looks excruciating. Your husband looks completely disheveled, because my poor husband dealt with so much during that time." I mean, talk about having to step up, and oh my gosh, he did so great. And I'm so grateful to have him, and, even my kids. I mean, our daily life was turned upside down. So you can imagine that my real estate business also had come to pretty much a screeching halt. I had closed out deals from when my injury first happened. I closed out deals, got those, contracts or transactions completed. And I really didn't work on my business to gain additional customers or clients that whole time. Okay, so that was 9 months after onset of surgery, or excuse me, 9 months after delivering my baby. I have my surgery scheduled for an additional 5 months out. I'm investigated by my employer for fraud. That turns out to be inconclusive. So now I go back to, okay, I'm just going to wait for this surgery, my hope, right? And about, I don't even know, a few weeks after that, I got a call from the surgeon's office that his schedule has changed and he needs to bump my surgery to April. And I am devastated again, and I couldn't believe it. And so I had to report this to my job and let them know that, okay, surgery's been bumped out. And I wait even longer. I have to wait even longer for this one thing that I'm holding on to that is giving me hope. The possibility of some sort of a repair during surgery, which is not even guaranteed, which is, something that I have to live with for the rest of my life now. And literally, the next call that I got a few weeks later was from my full-time employer that they were terminating my employment. They gave me all of the reasons why they were in the legal right to do so. This was all over the phone. This was all a complete shock. I thought they were calling to follow up on paperwork. And here I was 2 months out from surgery. 2 months out from surgery. I have no job. I can't walk or stand or lay or sit. It was terrible. But what can you do? You have to go with the flow. You have to deal with it. And I did. And so I went ahead and waited till April, and I had my surgery, and thank God it was successful. After a successful surgery like that, though, you have 6 to 8 months of intense physical therapy. So I went through that on top of. So we're talking 14 months after onset of injury, plus an additional 6 to 8 months. But at least during the 6 to 8 months, I'm walking with crutches. I'm starting to move my leg, to use my leg, go through all of that. And my hope was restored. I was a determined individual who was going to walk again, unassisted. That was my biggest goal, because if you have never experienced anything like that, and I hope you don't, going from a state of full independence to all of a sudden not being independent and needing people to assist you in walking or moving or getting around. It's terrible. And it's terrible when it's 14 months of that, okay? But I focused on getting better. And then in that time, because now I'm focusing on the positive, right? I want to focus on all of the good things, but I can't help but also know that I have no job. I have no job now. But I did own my own business. And so what that meant was, as I healed and got better from my injury, I worked really, really, really hard, finally, on my business. I did everything that I could to bring myself back up to speed in the industry. I learned everything that I could. I went right back to where I was, where I'm shadowing, where I'm, following, people and things. I was immersing myself in all kinds of positive content that I could possibly get. And I couldn't ignore that this is now my source of income that I have to go after. And I did. And it took a little bit, but I did. But the key here is that not being able to walk, not being able to be independent and unassisted, and not being able to use the crutch of the full-time position is actually what catapulted my real estate career. So it's kind of almost that whole, when you strip it all down, you take everything from someone, the possibility is when it's their lone thing, they're going to go after it even harder. And so while I say that almost 2 years really, really, really sucked, it actually, when I look back on it now, if it did not happen, I would have been part of that 97% of real estate agents who fail out of the business within 1 to 3 years of getting their real estate license, because you don't realize the time, the energy, the effort, the hours that are needed. There is so much that goes into it. But being that I had no fallback, being that I had this almost rejuvenation of life now because I can walk again, that is what catapulted and kickstarted my real estate career. And I never looked back. I worked so hard at gaining customers and clients and immersing myself in the industry and actually finding out what I don't want to do in the industry and shaping my business to the way I want it to be. And a lot of people don't realize that either. And so every real estate agent is not the same. They don't handle their business the same. I would always suggest that you do an interview before you hire someone in the real estate industry, because you have to find out what their business model is and how they handle their clients. But the point here is, when everything seems bad, when everything is hard, when everything seems terrible, there could be a silver lining. And if you just hold on and if you just keep going, it's possible you can get there. The realization that I did that, the realization that that was me, I got there. I stripped away the feelings that I had about my employer terminating my employment. That doesn't define me. That's not about me. Should they have been, kinder to me? I had thought so, right? But it's a business. And so I stripped all of that and I used that as energy to drive me forward, to get me to my end goal, to get me to, actually I was angry and I was never going to rely on a corporate job. And so that motivation is what fueled me to build my business to where it's at today. My hope in talking to you today about this is, I hope you know that everybody struggles. Everybody struggles. But I also hope you know that everybody has the ability to set their sights on something and attain it. And that time period for me was super isolating. super isolating, which is why a lot of people don't even know about this. I really wish it wasn't so isolating. And because I wish that, I will say to you, if you're going through something that seems really terrible or is really terrible, I would challenge you to invite people in. And I know it's hard to do that. I know you don't want to be the burden. I know you don't want to be the one who's, got this negative cloud, or who needs help, or who needs assistance. But I will tell you that if you have people who are willing to be there, it can help with it every day. Just like this helps me. I said I have a void. I'm not able to, connect with people the way that I was before. I need to fill that void. I want to feel better, and I hope that it connects me to people in a way too that they end up feeling better. So this is what I'm doing. On a weekly basis, I am here with you and having coffee or whatever you've got going on, giving you a little bit of insight into real estate or my life, inviting you in, and hopefully keeping and maintaining and strengthening that connection as we go. So if ever you want to talk to me about real estate, starting your own business, if ever you want to talk to me about the challenges of life, I invite you to do so. If you have challenges that are holding you back at the moment, I challenge you to stay on that board and ride that wave. And in the end, focus on your accomplishments, no matter how small. There were days that I was focusing on an accomplishment that meant I made it to the bathroom and back, even though it was assisted. You focus and give yourself the recognition that you deserve, that you are getting there, regardless of how long it takes you. 14 months of dealing with an injury, 9 months not knowing what was wrong with me. No one did. And then an additional 6 to 8 months of intense physical therapy. That was a long time of my life that I have gained strength and knowledge and abilities from that will continuously fuel me, I hope, forever. So don't hesitate to reach out. Join me back here next week if you can. I would love to have a cup of joe with you. I would love to stay connected, reconnect if that's what we're doing. And next week, I will go into a little bit more how being a realtor means that I own my own business. I hope you have a terrific and a wonderful day, and don't hesitate to reach out. I hope I see you soon, mainly next week, but more so, hopefully in person in the future, and we can have a cup together or a quick little bite to eat or whatever it may be, because I miss you. And I hope you have a terrific day. Make it a good one. Fill it with hope, no matter how far out it seems, and you'll get there.